Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about the atom. Before we start talking about the atom, let's go back and take a look at matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Specifically, matter is broken down into three categories: solids, liquids, and gases. So the computer or the desk in front of you being solid, water being a liquid, and the air that you're breathing being a gas. So matter is anything that has mass, takes up space, and it describes all of the physical substances, physical things that we can touch and feel, physical substances around us. Now, matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. And it's important to emphasize this word right here, tiny. They are small. They are so small that we cannot even see them with a microscope. We have to use special scientific instruments to detect that they're there, and we have indirect ways of knowing that they're there and knowing what their properties are. Very tiny particles. But the smallest particle is an atom, and even it itself is made up of even smaller particles called subatomic particles, which would be protons, neutrons, and electrons. So atoms are the building blocks of everything in existence. All matter consists of atoms. Okay, so let's take a look at the structure of an atom. As we said, atoms are made up of subatomic particles called protons, which are found in the nucleus, neutrons, which are also found in the nucleus, and then electrons, which go around or orbit the nucleus. All right, so here is another model of an atom. This model is color-coded, so we have our protons, which are in green here, and you can see our protons are in this inside piece that we call the nucleus. The nucleus is in the center of the atom, just like the nucleus of a cell would be in the center of the cell. Okay, so we have our protons, which are the little green particles, our neutrons. Our protons are the purple particles. And then we have our electrons, which are these black particles. And the protons or neutrons are in there in the nucleus, and our electrons are orbiting. They're going around the nucleus in different pathways. Okay, each electron is going in its own pathway, and they are going around or orbiting the nucleus. So each one of these subatomic particles has different properties. So let's talk about the protons to begin with. So our protons, as we said right here, they are inside of this nucleus. And protons are fairly large, okay, compared to electrons, which we'll talk about in just a second. But protons are much larger and heavier than electrons. Protons have a positive charge. Okay, they have a plus. They are a positive charge in the atom. Now, as we said, protons are located in the nucleus, and protons have a mass of 1 AMU, which is an atomic mass unit. Now, atoms are so small that we can't measure them using grams. We can't measure them using a triple beam balance or electronic balance. They're so small that they have to have their own special mass unit, and we call that an atomic mass unit. So a proton has a mass of 1 AMU, or atomic mass unit. So protons have a positive charge located in the nucleus and are fairly large compared to electrons. Now the next subatomic particle is a neutron. Okay, a neutron. Now neutrons are also found in the nucleus of the atom. So we have our neutrons right here in green. You can see I got my little green guys in the nucleus in the center of that atom. Neutrons are like protons in that they are fairly large and heavy when we compare those to electrons, which we'll take a look at just in a second. And neutrons have no electric charge. No electric charge. So protons are positive, neutrons are neutral. Okay? They have no charge. They're not positive, they're not negative, they're neutral. They're in between. And that should be fairly easy to remember because neutrons starts with NEU, and then neutral starts with NEU. Okay? Neutrons are neutral. They have no charge. Neutrons also have a mass of 1 AU. AMU, which is atomic mass unit, 1 AMU. Protons positive in the nucleus, neutrons neutral in the nucleus, both have an atomic mass of 1 AMU. Then lastly, we have our electrons. Okay, electrons. Excuse me, I went too far there. Electrons. Now, electrons are much smaller than protons and neutrons. Okay, they are tiny, very light particles. Okay, and also they are not found in the nucleus. They move around the nucleus. They're going around the nucleus, and we showed you that they have these orbits. So here's our electrons, they're little black dots right here, and they are going around that nucleus in various pathways. All right, so they're very small. They go around the nucleus. They also have a negative charge. Okay, so electrons are negative. And then electrons have, again, we said they're small, have a very small mass. Whereas protons and neutrons have a mass of 1 AMU, the electrons have just a fraction of that mass, 1 in 1,836th, okay, atomic mass unit. They're very small, very, very small, especially even small compared to protons and neutrons. So they're small, they're very tiny, very light particles, and again, they orbit the nucleus of the atom. So protons are positive, have a positive charge. They're found in the nucleus, a mass of 1 AMU. Neutrons are neutral. They're also found in the nucleus, have a mass of 1 AMU. And then our electrons are negative. Okay, they orbit or go around the nucleus and have a much smaller mass, much, much less than 1 AMU. Okay, so this does it for part 1 of the Atoms Notes video. We'll pick up with part 2 next time.